we thought. There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. And I'm not going to tell you what my name is, so you're just going to have to guess. But Rochelle is here. Rochelle, how are you? And if you turned your mic on, we'd be able to hear you better.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Boom! I'm here. Surprise! Yes, it's a great day, Kevin. We get to remember those who we lost in a horrible tragedy back a few years ago in 9/11, but we also get to celebrate it with amazing people who were born on that day, like our Kevin McDonald. So happy birthday. We love you. And we have a great guest. Would you like to introduce him?
I would. Charlie Sheppard is our guest. He's one of those guys that has done a lot. He has a company, and it's called Sheppard Partners, and he works with companies to take the drama out of the business. As a matter of fact, he's actually even wrote a book, which has gotten a bunch of 5-star reviews. I just looked it up on Amazon, and is doing really, really quite well. And it's called Save the Drama for Your Mama. I love that, and we're going to talk about how that name came to be, which I really like. And Charlie, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you, Kevin. Nice to meet you and be on the show. And Rochelle, good to connect with both of you. And I guess first thing is happy birthday. What an amazing, I mean, those things are awesome. You get to have everybody celebrate you today.
Well, and for a long time, it wasn't exactly celebration. It was oh, your birthday's on the 11th. I'm so sorry.
That's true. That is true. I forget that. Yes, there's the other connotation to this date.
But Charlie, one of the things that I want to start doing is I want to create, tell me what you think about this. I would love to create a national holiday on 9/11 because I was thinking about it the other day, and I don't think that we have a holiday. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know everything. But correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think that we have a national holiday for first responders.
I don't think that we do. And what a cool, by the way, I was an EMT. So there was a period of time in my life when it's an interesting club of people. One, our humor is all slightly evil, right? There's a little bit of just darkness to the humor, which is, I think, how we survive inside of the role. But wherever I go and I meet somebody who's a first responder, there's a brotherhood and sisterhood that you immediately get just because you did that job at some point in time. And I love the idea. These are the people that when the chips are down, I've had 2 situations where I needed help from a first responder inside of my own life. It is just so satisfying. It's maybe even the best job I ever did. I actually loved being an emergency medical technician and helping people in that way.
They are the most amazing people because sadly I've fallen and I couldn't get up a couple of times. So I had to call some help, and they are the most remarkably kind, loving people. They all are vested in your health. Yep. And when my wrist was just hanging there, wasn't doing anything, and they said, I said, do you think it's broken? And they said, well, yeah. And he said, do you think I can let it heal? And he said, it ain't healing by itself. So they called me.
I was water skiing with 2 of my friends. The only broken bone I've ever broken is a water ski hit my nose, and it was laid over flat like this. And I was with 2 other EMTs in the boat, and I asked, is it broken? And they looked at me and they go, no, you're fine. get in the boat, right? And they totally lied to me, because that's one of the first things that you can do as an EMT is you can put your hands on somebody or let somebody know that they're going to be okay. It's an amazing gift to just have another human being be able to reach out. And that's what they did. They were so smart and wise, because I was a mess. And they just said, you're fine. It's just a little bump. Just get in the boat, right? Because they knew they had to take me to the emergency room. And that level of just wanting to help people, but knowing what to do. Like, they both got very resourceful at that moment in time. And yeah. I was glad it was my friends that helped me.
Well, I'm glad they were there.
Exactly.
And you didn't have a mirror.
Yeah, exactly. The mirror could have potentially, that could have replaced the shock and awe. It's straight now, kind of. There is a little bump, but the ER team did a great job.
But and I was reading about 9/11, and I, of course, remember that day. But because I live in Seattle, it was clear across the country, and for those men and women to go running towards danger rather than away from it, where everybody else was trying to get away, I really think that we need to honor our first responders.
Love it.
With a major date. And I can't think of a better day than 9/11, because the people who lost their lives that day, they knew that there was a good chance that was going to happen.
Kevin, I would just say, I think those national days start with whoever your congressperson is. If you were to write this letter, I'll sign up for it. I think it's a great, honestly, this is one of the better ideas that I've heard. I'm so on board with it. I know so many organizations that are, there's a lot of, I've done some consulting work with flight rescue. And so the paramedics and EMTs that do helicopter rescue. And so I have a client there. I just think that people would sign on for this in a heartbeat, because it's like, I think that we need things in our country that actually bring people together. And this is one of those, this is a common ground thing. Go, Kevin. This is I love this idea. What a great idea. And
I'm going to be emailing people all night.
Well, see, it works for me because it being my birthday, which is a special day to me. But then I was
reframe.
Just thinking,
it's a reframe for the day. I love the reframe for the day, and it is one of the better ideas I've heard. Kevin, this is genius. I'm just telling you right now. I love this.
Well, gosh, I'm gonna do it, Dan. I was been thinking about it for the last couple of days, and it's like those men and women. And I started to think we've got Memorial Day for the military, we've got Labor Day for the workers, we've got Mother's Day, we've got Valentine's Day, which is, by the way, Valentine's Day is a promotional day for creating flower business.
They all are.
They all are. But this would be one of those days that would really, rather than talk about the death and destruction that happened, let's talk about the men and women who dedicate their lives to helping people all the time. And sometimes it hurts.
Kevin, genius. I'm telling you. and here's the other idea that I heard around birthdays is you should celebrate it yesterday. Because that was when you completed another 365, right? This is just the first day of this year. Last year was the graduation, right? You think about graduations, you graduated that year yesterday. So you could start celebrating that on September 10th. I graduated, I did another year, and this is just the first day of the next year. It's not like it's a big deal. Last year meant something. So start celebrating the 10th. That's my advice.
So maybe I could work it so that I get birthday presents on both the 10th and the 11th.
Yes.
You know what your birthday present will be? All the thank you letters that people send you that are first responders for the National First Responder Day.
No.
There you go.
Oh, that would be a legacy fulfilling thing, and that would be really cool.
It really would. I did something for my dad's birthday that was still, he said it was the favorite birthday present. This is an individual that truly did make a difference in other people's lives. He was just kind, smart, generous, and he was a father to many, right? He played that role for more than just his four children. Um,
Mm.
and I reached out to all the people that knew him from a friend capacity, and there were scouts that had the experience with him. But so many of each of his four kids' friends thought of him in a particular way, and he helped people. And I had them all write a letter to him, letting him know the difference that he made inside of their lives. And he would say that that was his favorite present he ever got, was to have somebody, you know, go out of their way and, you know, instead of having it be at a funeral or something along those lines, he got to experience the difference that he made. And I just think that having a National First Responder Day is just one of the better ideas I've heard. So there you go, Kevin. This is the leadership professor saying, yes, do it, make it happen. I'll help you however I can. So
Yes.
I truly appreciate that. And one thing before we go, because I think what you did for your dad was extraordinary. But if you don't have the ability to do that, make sure that you get a recording of him doing his life story, whoever it is. I did that for my dad. He went into surgery 3 months later, and the ultimate outcome was he died. But because I had the interview with him, I was able to edit it down to like a 10-minute thing about how he met my mom, how he thought about his work, and how he wanted to be remembered. And I was able to play it over the loudspeakers at his memorial service in his own voice.
What a great idea. Wonderful. Wonderful.
And there wasn't a dry eye in the house because he talked in a certain way, and you could recognize that it was just so. Enough of that and going down memory lane and all of that. We want to talk about Charlie.
Okay, there you go.
Yes.
Well, where do you want to start, Kevin?
Brachelle, do you have a question to start with? Do you have a thought? And
Yeah, I'm thinking that leadership is us owning and gaining how we lead our own life, right? Like if we're going to be leaders. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, first off, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
It's very, very difficult to lead others if you're not leading yourself first. And so job one is figuring out a way for leading yourself. And what comes out of that, and my definition of leadership is to create other leaders. So the function of leadership is to create more leaders. And you can't do that unless you're the model for being a leader. So you're 100%. That is the starting place.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people, they'll say, well, I'm a leader, but they don't follow those same things. How would you challenge them to reconsider their thinking?
So this actually gets to the area that was my research around leadership. Is so I was doing a 2-week leadership development program. It was at Rockhurst University, and it was a 2-week residential. And we surveyed every executive with 360s coming into that program. Did the 2 weeks, which is as cutting edge as anything. I mean, we brought in the thought leaders. It was a powerful residential program. And then we surveyed the individuals afterwards. The people that needed the training the most embraced it the least. And the people that needed it the least embraced it the most. And so as an educator, I felt like I didn't do my job, and it had me start researching what gets in the way of people developing their own innate leadership. And that's what drove me into an area of research that I played before in family therapy, and that's the drama triangle. And it needed to be reworked. But drama is the opposite of leadership. At the time, everybody was saying, here's what a manager is and here's what a leader is. And you look at the behaviors of good managers and the behaviors of good leader, they're the same behaviors. So it wasn't a great contrast. And so what I ended up doing is doing research around the patterns of the drama triangle and contrasted that with the leadership triangle, which is what I created. And that was the birth of probably the course that I'm most well known for, which is Leadership is a Choice. You can choose it at any moment in time. If you think you're never in the drama triangle, that's called low self-awareness. And it comes with standard equipment with every human being. Leadership is optional.
Charlie, we need to take our first break of the day, and I'm scared to death because I've got a little segment that I do on leadership, and I want to play it because I want to get your expertise and to tell me whether or not whether it works or not. And if it doesn't work and you don't say it works, I won't play it anymore. But but in any event, Brichelle, if we want to find out more about Charlie, where do we go?
Yes, the best place to go to see all of Charlie's work and get a better understanding is sheppardpartners.com. Don't go check that out now. Listen to the commercial, but keep that in your notes.
And let's all bow our heads and hope for the best. Here are some points to ponder from Positive Talk Radio. You know, some say leadership is about getting the work done, about pushing forward, no matter the cost. But what's the cost of a team with no purpose? What if a single act of support, a single moment of genuine grit could change everything? What if leadership was a catalyst? Because true leadership isn't about being in control. It's about empowering others to find their purpose. It's about leading with passion and igniting the fire in everyone around you, creating a culture of teamwork and common purpose. A true leader finds this culture by enthusiastic purpose and team development, making each team member feel empowered to create, improve, and execute their tasks with genuine passion and a strong belief in the company's mission and focus. In other words, lead with purpose. And we're back, everybody. I don't know if I want to look at Charlie right now.
Hey, put your head up and raise that chin. He's excited.
That's amazing. So one, I love production value, and two, there's a thing that, and it's a hard one to explain, and you do it really well, Kevin, and it's sound energy. So my other definition of leadership, and the difference between leadership and drama, is leadership's putting energy into the system, drama is taking energy out of it. And sound is an energy. And so when I was listening to the ad, one of the things that I'm hearing is a quality to your voice. So what you were saying and how you were saying it resonated. And so that's a definition. I got a good energy listening. I mean, production values are great, but there's a sound energy that goes with it that I think tells people a lot about who they want to work with and who they don't want to work with. And it's really hard to create that quality of sound without being present in your own structure, if that makes sense. You got to be present to be able to have that presence. And then that presence showed up in the sound. So well done.
Thank you. I was worried there for a moment. So, but you know, Charlie, because I was in management for a long time, and I firmly believe that, because I was in restaurant management, and I firmly believe that we were no better than the worst dishwasher I had on staff.
It's awesome.
Because they're the ones who make sure that the dishes are clean, so the cooks can put good food on the dishes, and the waitress can take it out and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, but what I've found in my career is that great leadership is not very common. Why is that?
I would go back to the pattern of drama, and it's abdicating. So you can get back to how is there a pattern of drama, and I can go back into all kinds of theory. There's something that we've been doing with graduating seniors for the last 50 years, and that's running a psychometric instrument calling the internal external locus of control. So an IE locus of control, say this podcast doesn't go well, if I had an external locus of control, I would sit there and I'm going to blame you guys. If it does go, and that would be an external locus of control. Say it doesn't go well, and I had an internal locus of control, I could be sitting there saying, what could I have done better to have made it a better podcast? You hear where I'm locating my control is either I'm going to put it over there or I'm going to bring it back over here. So what's happening is with the graduating class over the last 50 years is we have a greater level of external locus of control. The outside world's doing it to me versus me actually leading. So you go down the path. How is it that society is not creating more leaders? And part of it is the way that we're raising our kids right now. And there's some inherent, almost biological patterns, which are humans are the most dependent animals in infancy of any on the planet. We're longer with our caregivers or parents. And so we actually learn how to manipulate the external environment for our very survival, whether it's through crying, whether it's through getting our needs met, and you wouldn't survive otherwise. So we've engineered this mechanism for getting our needs met from the outside before the higher cognitive centers come on board. In traditional societies, they have a lot of rituals around manhood and womanhood ceremonies that we kind of don't have now. It's when kids go off to college. Those were meant to separate the child from the parent so they could kind of develop their own sense of self. And in our society, we kind of let the kids run as a pack. The brainwave of a teenager is not that different from those of the criminally insane. So so the criminally insane are going to the criminally insane for advice. And we're a herd animal in that we only survived on the plains and the savannah by being a group of us. So the worst thing you could do to a human being was exclude them from the tribe, versus that was the worst. You could kill somebody, that wasn't such a big deal. But if you excluded them, that was going to be a lone death. So we've got this hyper awareness of, are we included? We have this hyper dependency, and societies like if you even think about it, I used to work on my car when I was a kid. I wouldn't know how to. And Uber Eats shows up, or HelloFresh brings the meal. You basically, so many things are just brought to the door that it isn't the same as when, my great uncle was out hunting for squirrel with a Civil War musket when he was 12, right? And so there's a certain sense of self-reliance that happened back then that we don't have now as a society. And I don't know that it's helped the neurological development. And then these things, right? A kid, by the way, these are my children also. So my children were raised on these. It's a 10 to 15% reduction in empathy for kids that had the phone between 10 and 20 during those developmental years, the actual phone. So we're not doing society any benefit in this creating a more drama-oriented culture. And the reason that it exists now to another level is that's how you sell advertising.
Charlie, can I ask you why
Yeah.
you chose drama of all things? Like, what exactly does that mean?
So I don't know if it's from a visual standpoint, but if I go here, the patterns of drama are the victim is the opposite of the visionary. The adversary is the opposite of the catalyst, and the rescuer is opposite of the coach. So there's thinking that goes into it, but you'll notice at the bottom here is energy. So how do you know when you're in the drama triangle? Energy, you're either taking the energy out of the environment, or people are working at taking energy out of the environment, or you're putting energy into the environment. That's what I love about Positive Talk Radio is you're here putting energy into the system, right? You want to have the positive aspect to it. If I reach to my phone right now and I go to my news feed, I will get primed. My brain will be primed in a very negative way. I just, FBI recovers rifle. Senate Republicans trigger nuclear option. Majority of Brazil's Supreme Court convict.
Wait, what? Hold on. Nuclear option. What are you?
Yeah, it's just like those are the words. And so, and whatever your political, spiritual, whatever your point of view is about anything, the algorithms will feed you that because all they want is your eyeball. So whatever your issue is, you're going to get hooked into it. And drama. That's why the Housewives of whatever. Is there a Housewives of Seattle?
I don't think. We've
not
got
yet. It'll happen.
Most women of Seattle.
Okay, it'll
But it works
happen.
the same way in our lives as it does on these TV shows with what our energy puts out and what we get back. So it makes sense.
And so drama. I use the analogy that if I were to sit there and say kind of celebrities, if I were to say the word Justin Bieber, you know who I'm talking about, right? You know who these individuals are. If I were to say Norman Borlaug, you probably don't. So Norman Borlaug in the history of the world is the individual that's attributed for saving more lives than any other human being in history. And we don't know about him. He's won a Congressional Gold Medal and a Nobel Prize and a lot of other things. It's just that we don't know these individuals. By the way, what he engineered was a new kind of wheat that Kevin, you're old enough that you remember the wheat wars. This is, Michelle, you may not, but it's like there were wheat wars and food was used as a political weapon at a particular time. He actually engineered a new type of wheat where the harvest was greater, the stalks were hardier. You could harvest in a couple times in the season.
I remember that.
Yeah, he fed the world. And so we don't hear about this anymore. And we have more people on the planet. And we're not hearing about the food insecurity that's happening because of one man's desire. But we don't talk about him. And that's why I think shows like this matter in lifting up people's thinking and how do we get positive things happening. So the long-winded way of getting to why drama, Claude Levi-Strauss says to learn anything, the fastest way to learn it is to learn its opposite. And he was a cultural anthropologist, a fairly famous French one. And he would go in and look at the Inuit tribes up at the top of the North Pole and tribes down in the deepest Amazon. And they were telling the same stories. And it was man versus woman, old versus cold. And you even think about it, even today we use lease versus buy. We understand leasing better because we understand buying and we use that contrast. So drama for me created the best contrast, and it is still the best teaching mechanism that I have for getting people to adopt more of their own leadership. And they end up getting a better understanding of how they can architect leadership in their own life and get leadership to show up inside of their organizations. And so I've architected methodologies for removing drama outside of cultures. So that's kind of that's how I get hired that's what Sheppard Partners. I mean, Sheppard Partners does a lot of things. Probably the thing I'm most well known for is creating a culture where drama can't exist.
Yeah.
I'm letting that sink in because that's really cool. A culture where drama doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be utopia?
It's here's what it is, and I can tell you definitively with the organizations that I've worked where we've removed it, their market cap goes up, sometimes exponentially. The weight of drama and it sounds like, gosh, it's not like teaching somebody sales training and look, I do things that I know hit the bottom line. I do a lot of union management facilitation and negotiations where people don't go on strike. And so that adds value. And I do teach influencing skills and, how to run in better cross-functional teams. It's just that I start from the same place. I remove drama out of the environment, and I've been able to correlate. This was part of my initial research. Higher levels of drama, lower levels of performance, higher levels of leadership, higher levels of performance. And you can flip those. You can actually move people out of the bottom triangle a lot of it's just with awareness. It just, even with me talking about this as a distinction right now, I'm doing a fairly interesting project that I just launched in the last couple of days. I'm teaching an AI to ask better questions. So
How do you teach AI? That's supposed to be the ultimate of everything.
well, so the interesting thing was, this was an AI that was, there's a lot of AIs that are designed to write or to create images or to engage you in conversation. What this AI does is a lot of what consultants do is they go out and they figure out marketplace impressions, or they figure out the culture of a team, or they figure out, we do surveys, right? That's a fairly common consulting job. And a good friend of mine, he used to be the chief learning officer at Oliver Wyman, had this idea, is what if we could get an AI to ask a good questions? He spent 3 years doing it. And it literally was launched on the 9th. So 9/9, they launched it. But part of it is part of my background is in transformational linguistics, and I understand the deep structure of language. So when he asked me, because he knows my background, and he goes, "Could you teach the AI to ask better questions?" I'm going, because I know that I ask good questions, and I go, how do I ask good questions? And I go, oh, it's because I hear what people are saying, so I can make distinctions. So a distinction would be drama versus leadership. A distinction is internal locus of control versus external locus of control. Those are distinctions. I have thousands of distinctions. And so I went and I go, oh, if I'm going to teach an AI to ask questions, I have to teach it first how to listen. And if I'm going to teach it how to listen, I have to teach it the distinctions to listen for. And then, so I ended up creating about 1,000 distinctions and 1,500 questions to feed it into it, so that we could get it smarter. So it wasn't just, because when I first took it, and I kind of went, oh, I wouldn't want this AI asking me questions, because I was just going, the presuppositions were of low quality. And so now we're kind of, it's cool. It's, by the way, I don't know what I'm going to title it, but I do have another book that's coming. Is once I wrote all of that, I went, I think this would be really useful for humans. Right.
Well,
so,
yeah.
And so, and then I started looking at this, and almost every book that's gotten popular has just been a single distinction, like fixed mindset, growth mindset. That's a distinction. That's all it is. And so there are hundreds, not of those distinctions. And so it was fun to kind of curate from learning theory. It was fun to curate from linguistics. It was fun to curate from various kind of personal growth methodologies, and just throw all of this into a single book. So I don't have the title of it yet, but I'm playing around with titles right now.
And by the way, we're talking with Charlie Sheppard, who is a really smart fella, I guess. So, and teaching AI how to talk. Now, when we come back from this break, I want to ask you: won't we, in order to teach AI to ask good questions, how do you teach AI to listen intently to to what's actually being said, not what's necessarily being inferred? And is body language something that needs to play into that as well? We'll be right back right after this. Purcell's with me, and Charlie Sheppard is here. Purcell, if I wanted to find his website, where would I go?
Yes, during this next this next commercial, visit sheppardpartners.com. He has some amazing stuff just to take a look at in the first place. So check that out, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
The strength of staying kind from your friends at Positive Talk Radio. Kindness is not weakness. It takes real strength to stay kind in a world that often rewards anger, ego, and control. Being kind means choosing to act from your values. not your wounds. It means showing grace even when no one's watching. But kindness doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean letting people take advantage of your time, your energy, or your peace. You can be kind and still say no. You have a soft heart with firm boundaries. The strongest people I know are the ones who choose compassion without losing themselves. They've been hurt, they've been tested, and still they choose to love and lead and to lift others anyway. Kindness is not about pleasing everybody. It's about honoring who you are and how you treat others, even when it's hard. So stay kind, stay human, and stay strong. And always remember this: be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And Brashelle is here. Brashelle, how are you? How are you? How are you?
Great. And Charlie, I'd love to get out what Kevin was asking about the AI. And I have a following question because I would love to hear a story from you. So, Kevin, do you remember what you said?
Yeah, the question is because AI is like a question and answer thing, but it doesn't understand it. At least typically, the ones that I'm familiar with don't really understand when you're asking them a question, or that they can then turn that around and ask a question back to you based upon what it is that you said, or what you'd like to believe, what you'd like it to be able to do. So how did that work when aren't you, because you're asking it to think, aren't you?
Yes. So
Oh, that was an easy answer.
And it's true that it's the only AI I've experienced that has this capability, and so kudos to Gordon Rideau who had this as a vision for what would be valuable for an AI. And so part of asking great questions, so you can ask great questions of AIs, right? You can learn. I've got a small molecule in the cancer space. So I'm a biotech co-founder, and I'm often in board meetings with people that have, PhDs in biology and they're MDs and they've been doing drug development for a long time. And so there's terms sometimes I don't know, and I can put those terms in and have AI teach me, right? So I'm asking the question, and AI is typically a great aggregator of information. I can put a new clinical trial in. I did this just the other day. I saw results of a clinical trial and I put it into AI and I started asking questions of it. And this is where AI has most of the utility. So this is different in that it actually has to do the harder thing, which is actually here. So as you mentioned, so much about communication is actually in the nonverbals, the sound energy. We're not there yet. So potentially it'll be like in a Zoom environment. So it's picking up nonverbals. I don't know if an AI will, what type of processing would you need to kind of get the micro muscle movements? That's part of my background, is seeing what other people don't see. And on the other side of it, I went, okay, so there are things that I hear that other people don't hear. Is somebody using language that's large chunk data? So are they hearing things that are in smaller bite-sized pieces? And so when the AI is listening to the words being said, they can then start to pattern, right? Is this a person that chunks down? And then you can go on into, do I need to ask an implication questions? Like, so say it was, here's one distinction. This is a better example. A lot of people will jump, they want the outcome. And a lot of people are over there in the problem frame. So the AI has to sit there and go, what frame am I in? Am I in a problem frame or in an outcome frame? If I'm in a problem frame, do I understand it? Right? So then you can get more specific. Well, what specifically do you mean by this, Kevin? Right? Now I've got the understanding. And then you can ask the question, well, how is this a concern for you? And how would that be a concern for you? So you can sit there and actually teach it to stay with inside of the frame. So I had to create these frames, and then I had to create the language models that would actually have it go in the direction that I wanted it to go. So once I've taught it that, then it's starting to ask better questions because it understands the nature of framing. It understands the nature of what language and some of the inefficiencies that are around English, and that's the language I'm familiar with, but it would apply to almost all language. And what are the words that are nominalized, and how do I get more specific? And then when's the right time to get to an implication question? How many times should I ask that to uncover what the real issue is? What do real issues actually sound like? And so all of those things I have to do without any of the nonverbal cues that would normally go with, in some ways it was so much harder than for me just to sit down and actually, figure out what the real issue is for somebody.
Well, because it's there's also logic involved and emotionality and all of that stuff that goes with it. That must be just fascinating. And by the way, Charlie, you do a lot of stuff. Did anybody ever tell you that?
I know. I get, it was the last book that I published was on climate change, mainly because I have kids, and I found myself, if you go back to the drama triangle, I found myself down here in the victim role when it was around climate and people were talking about climate. I felt like I was powerless to do anything. And I realized I didn't have a compelling vision. Whenever you feel that, the first thing to do is to create a vision. And so I went, oh, what are the things that I know how to do? I know how to tell a story. I know the power of metaphor. I also understand systems thinking, and the largest system, and the best way to teach systems thinking is through the natural systems, the environment. And so then I wrote a book called Get Off the Fence, which has to do with inspiring people to want to take a more direct action. Like there's people over here that say there's no issue with climate, right? And they really exist, and they're over there. I'm not trying to change those individuals. And there's people that are over here that are already engaged and active. But there's the big population is here going, I don't know what to do, and I don't know the first step how to do it. And those are the people I want to get off the fence. I want to move those people into the world of making a choice. So again, this is a self-diagnostic tool. I found myself down here feeling powerless to be able to make a difference. And so then I go, okay, I got to do the opposite of that. I'm going to jump into it, and I've got to sit there and see if I can't help make this one of the more important issues around the world, and so that we can actually take a proactive, both science, and it's going to be political willpower to, in many ways, get it done. But politics will do what you say. If we all made it the number one issue, doesn't matter whatever your political party is, the politicians will fall in line. So that's marketing, and that's where marketing and having a voice and I think having a positive message. I mean, I want to motivate people to action, but there's plenty of stuff. There's so many things that we can do to actually make this fundamental shift in securing the only spaceship we got.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, it's resilient, but we're not nearly as resilient as it is.
No.
Rochelle,
Anyway.
I was going. Well, Rochelle, did you have a question? Because I have one
Yes.
for Charlie as well. Because
Okay.
there's something I
Well,
don't
if it's
understand.
okay with you, can we maybe take the break a little earlier, and I'll so he has plenty of time. But Charlie, I want to ask you either the first story you have, the moment you realized that those triangles worked, and it was possible to bring a whole community of people from the bottom to the top of that, or maybe even just your favorite story of when you saw this actually work, and saw a whole group of people
Sure.
be able to come up from that.
Excellent.
I know the executive producer, so we are going to bypass the break. Go ahead, Charlie.
Perfect.
I thought you guys were running a break right now. You want me to answer that now?
Yeah. No, the executive producer trashed the break, and so we're not going to take it because that question is important, and the answer is equally as important, and our audience needs to hear it.
I have somebody who I worked with that So in the large scale application, this is why I know that it unlocks value. Uh, Backstory: Gary Friedman's the CEO, chairman of the board of RH, so Restoration Hardware, and he was the number 2 at Williams Sonoma, and he got there from the Gap. So he went from the Gap to Williams Sonoma. Unlocked Pottery Barn was his idea, but he didn't get the CEO job, and so he ended up taking all this money and took a large enough position where he came on board at Restoration Hardware. And that's when I joined. It was probably this is where I know that it can happen. It's a $2 stock at that point in time, and it's over 200 today. So you got 100x, return selling tables, right? We're talking selling tables. So there's no competitive advantage or anything else. And he came to me and we were talking, and he goes, I've just bet everything. I've bet all my family wealth. I bet everything in turning this. And he goes, and so I've spent everything. He goes, we have a culture here. And he knew about my drama triangle versus the leadership triangle. He goes, if I don't shift the culture, I'm not, this will be a wasted effort. And the culture is entrenched already here in the organization. And so we just kept training everybody. They still train it today. I get to, whenever I go into any of their restaurants, I go, oh yeah, I'm the guy that created the leadership drama triangle. And they go, oh my gosh. And so in essence, we shifted everybody from managers to leaders. We trained everybody in the drama and leadership distinction and having a choice. And so many people will sit there and go, I have to go to work today. And we made it so that everybody chooses to go there to work. If you hear if you listen to the language, I have to do something means the locus of control is external. I always use the analogy for people who are married: go home tonight and actually tell your significant other or your spouse, I have to be married to you, and see how that goes. Okay. It's not going to go very well. So
I did that. It didn't go very well.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go. And so we shifted the mindset to this internal locus of control, and how are we going to architect the future, and how are we going to create this? And we created, in many ways, a company of visionaries. And how do you create enough visions? That company has reinvented itself. The cycle time it gets new products out, it'll try something, do something different, and just kept moving and moving and created extraordinary value. But it started first with having to shift the culture and the mindset of the individuals. And so once we did that, it's flourished. And by the way, some people, that wasn't a fit for them. They had to leave. Right? Yep. There's some people that were pretty entrenched, and it's that kind of grow or go mentality. But the CEO was adamant that we needed to actually make this shift, and they were able to make the shift. And now it's just like, oh man, it's so fun. What they've architected and created, they're anchoring malls now because they're one of the few places that can actually anchor a shopping mall where people will still want to come into the environment. And so it's just an extraordinary fun outcome. But I've done, leadership development at places like Genentech, where we unlock the same amount of value. And there's so many stories. I now know, I have a company where we translated it into 13 languages and have taught it all around the world. For a while, I was professor of leadership at Holt International Business School. I had students from 99 different countries. I can tell you definitively, drama is everywhere. It's in every culture. It's in every pattern. That's where humans show up. And so eliminating drama is an important part of architecting your culture, but also just having work be more fun, where people are generating energy and they know how to generate energy. And it doesn't mean that you don't get down on some days. It's just you have a way out. And so we help show organizations how that leadership and the corresponding productivity that comes from that is a way of unlocking the value of their people, their organization, and having people inspired to go on into their environment. So for me, anyway, a lot of fun.
Perfect.
And I got to tell you, Charlie, you've had quite the life. And one of the things that we haven't talked about yet, and it's on your other website, which is World Bridge University. And I want to talk about cancer which
Okay.
it doesn't appear to be like a positive talk radio like thing, but solving cancer
Would be.
is.
Yeah.
And you're in the process of putting the molecule, the micromolecule. I have no idea what I just said.
Okay. I'll tell. So let's go cancer, then I'll go world prince. They're kind of both good backstories. My mom passed away when she was my age, and multiple myeloma, and it really rocked my world. She's just a beautiful human being, and was taken way too early. And I remember I was doing all the leadership development at Genentech, and Art Levinson, who was the CEO at the time, he's now the chairman of the board of Apple, a little small company, you might have heard of it. But Art Levinson, who was the CEO, by the way, he was on the board of directors of Apple, the board of directors of Google, and the CEO and board of directors of Genentech. Look at the seat.
Not that he didn't have much time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he said, and I always remember it, is let's make cancer a manageable disease in our lifetime. And I got goosebumps, right? And I went, oh, I want to get behind this company and do something along those lines. Maybe it was 15 years later. I'd done a lot of work, and I have done a lot of work in the oncology space and working with companies like GSK and Roche. And where was I? Last week, I was out with AbbVie. The week before that, it was AstraZeneca. I'm talking to people at Vertex today. I mean, I'm in that space. And a colleague of mine came with me. That we were in something called Vistage. It's a CEO kind of advisory group where we get together and where we act as each other's board of directors. And my two co-founders, one had the molecule, one was an MD whose business just failed, and I had all these relationships in oncology. There was a molecule that was out there that would be a catalytic, if we could manufacture it, because it's only 5 atoms large, if we could figure out the manufacturing, that we could actually take every solid tumor at every stage and for every patient and actually freeze the cancer in place. So, by the way, it took 5 years of really hard material science, and we're covalently bonding heavy metal atoms, which has never been done before. We finally, this summer, we were in a board meeting and we go, we're going to make cancer survivable. It's like you think about HIV now, HIV is a cocktail of drugs. So you don't hear of it killing people anymore. And it's because It's a cocktail. It's taking the different pathways. The hard part about doing that, and there's a few where they do a lot of combination trials, but as soon as you add too many drugs in the oncology space, the off-target effects are way too much. So we feel that because we have such a low off-target profile, and we're going after the metabolic engine, we'll literally work at every stage of the cancer life. That will be a part of the cocktail that it'll make cancer survivable. So we're still in only animals, but the biology is such. We're working with such a fundamental biological process. There's always this translation medicine into humans. Will it actually work? And so many drugs fail at that. We don't think that we will. We're very hopeful because we're going after something that will be in every mammal, in every environment. So anyway.
So
congratulations.
That's a big deal, Charlie. And so the moral of the story is, if you have early stage cancer, do everything you can to stay alive, because this is going to come at one point and it's going to change everything.
That's the hope that we have. So, and that came from, I actually talked to a colleague of mine that, I go, why would an OD person start an oncology business? And he basically, this is where getting coaching from others, he goes, Charlie, just think about it. He's the head of, he runs about 24 billion of oncology drugs right now in various environments. And he said to me, he goes, we started in oncology on the same day, and think of the companies and the places that you've sat in and the different points of view that you could actually bring to that. And so, I started my own consulting company when I was 26. So, the fact that I don't know how to do something has never really been it hasn't been always the wisest decision, but it hasn't been a big deterrent in my life. And that was the same thing with the university. So having taught at University of San Francisco, at the Holt International Business School, I was walking behind Stanford, and my we were walking with my partner, and I just went, wow, look at what this guy created at Stanford. I would love to start a university, but I don't have $1 billion. And the Holt family, that was $1 billion decision also. And I went, okay, I would love to do this, but I don't have that kind of capital laying around. I got a cold email from somebody that was looking, they have EU and UK accreditation, and they were looking for a US partner to actually come on board and be a professor and launch it. So I've always been in the B2B place. This is B2C. So again, I'm going down a huge learning curve. The thing that I'm doing is called the Daily EMBA, which is a focus on the 2 competencies that you can't replace with AI, which is influence and leading cross-functional teams. So those are the areas where I'm focused and teaching along those lines.
You're a big enough guy is that the president?
No, but there is I did book a 4 o'clock on my end, but I want to come back. Kevin.
Yes.
Can I come back? This is actually the most fun I've had. I would love. I've been waiting for like this kind of a podcast. This is dream. I want to come back. Can I come back?
Of course you can come back. The first thing I have to do is I have to review the tape and then figure out what the hell you said half the time. But no, we'd love to have you back. You are highly engaging, and you're also very gifted at what you do, and you believe in yourself. If we could get people to believe in themselves, that they can do things, that we could change the world, Charlie. We really could.
I agree. Well, what a pleasure. And I'm not kidding, Kevin. First Responder Day. I will back you.
I got it on tape.
I will back you. I think
I got it on digital. Whatever
Kevin,
it is.
It's a genius idea.
It is.
And make it 9/11, and then it'll change every day. But
it's a reframe. There's so many things that does. I just think that this is a genius level idea. I will support you in however you want to do that.
We're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
I intend to do it because it's my birthday and all.
And it is a genius. I want for you, Kevin. That is a genius level idea.
Well, and coming from you, that high praise indeed. High praise indeed. And Brachelle, if anybody wants to get a hold of Charlie Sheppard, what's his website so that they can do that? And then we got to let him go because he's got a 4 o'clock, and it's now 4:02.
Yes, thank you first of all so much for your time, Charlie, and everything that you're doing. You are so damn inspiring, I must say. So visit Charlie's information, go to sheppardpartners.com, and you can also look at worldbridgeu.com as well. And Charlie, we will see you again hopefully soon, right?
Yeah, wherever it is, and then the Amazon's got these too, right? So
yes,
save your drama for your mama. And you've got the second edition coming that's out now, right?
Second edition, no, it isn't quite yet. There's still a last few edits, but second edition will be soon, and then that'll also be an ebook. So it's coming.
Charlie, thank you so much. And my team will reach out to your team, and our teams will go play golf, and then they'll figure something out.
I would love to honestly, I would love to come back. This is too much fun. We'll just have to remember what we said and then go into new stuff.
It won't matter because every show is different because it's all genuine and it's all conversational. Charlie, go ahead. Take your 4 o'clock. Apologize that you're 3 minutes late, and thank you so much, sir.
No worries. Cheers.
Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.